Yes, and we're in the same studio, but of course you can see our video on YouTube as well. And we'll have this on Facebook. And there is Rob Hunter right over there. He's just on the other side of this computer, and we're in the same studio. It doesn't look like it, but we're in the same spot. Yes, we are. Yeah.
I should probably mute the mic though, so there's no
reverb. Yeah, a little reverb. It's all good. State 48's Sound of Freedom Mosaic Hopped IPA.
Look at that can art too. Boom.
That's right. And State 48 was a spot we hit on day one. Day one that the restaurants were open for dine-in service. And it was weird because we went there at night, and at night after our show, Russell and Hunter, 4 to 7 right here on 550 KFY. And we were two of three people there. There's one other person in the building. And then afterwards, after that person left, it was just Rob and I. And it was odd. And the reason why there was nobody there was because the kitchen wasn't open. What they had said, the staff said, hey, listen, we've had calls all day. People wanted to come in. People wanted to sit down and eat. People wanted to have a drink. But we had to tell them, we don't even have any supplies. Even if we wanted to open the kitchen, we got nothing in there to cook. So it wasn't that people don't love them some State 48. Everyone loves them some State 48. We love us some State 48. But they just didn't have any food.
Well, that was because they decided to close that particular location completely during the shutdown. Because it's downtown, and I imagine a lot of people that go there either work downtown, they go maybe on the way home from work, they stop and grab a beer, grab a bite, something like that, which we have done many times because it was a centralized location and it works very well. So that could be one of the factors in that too. But some of their other locations, ready to rock and roll because they kept dine-out service open. So because they didn't keep dine-out service open at the downtown location, there was no need to replenish the food. It was just going to go to waste. So it was a smart decision on that part. But what you're seeing, and the common theme of what we're going to tell you about our experiences so far, is a slow roll because no one is sure who wants to be part of this first wave because Mike and I, just are not living in fear. We know that there's a virus out there, but we don't live in fear when it's flu season. And for us, as relatively healthy guys in their 40s, it's not impacting us as much as it is, say, our parents or our grandparents or whatever. So we know that even if we do happen to get the virus, it's not going to impact us tremendously. At least the hope isn't. Now, there are certainly cases, yes, but the chances, the math is well on our side, Mike.
Yes, and we have a 98-point-something% recovery rate. And here in the state of Arizona, those that were tested, only 6% were positive. So we're not living in fear. And by the way, and when we say living in fear, we say that as just a term we use. If you're staying at home, you're not living in fear. That's okay. Stay home. That's totally okay with that. We're okay with that. If you think you should stay home, rock on. Stay home. We're just part of the first wave that was ready to go. We were wound up like 8-day clocks. We wanted to go sit at a bar and have a beer and have some tacos, and that's what we wanted to do. That's what we were excited to do. That was our choice to do that.
Yeah.
Not railing on anybody take the other side, but we were ready to go, and we've been doing it all week. It's been a fabulous week. I think I've gained the COVID-19 pounds.
Well, It's worth it because we're supporting local businesses because here's the reality of the situation. And we're going to talk more about the impacts of these shutdowns from a look at a craft beer standpoint and beyond that, because there's a supply chain that gets us our beer, including grain, including hops. So there's some impacts on those communities as well. Then there's driving and people that deliver these things back and forth, people that farm them, etc. So that coming up probably a little bit later on the show. But we know that there are consequences and they reverberate. So someone has to be part of this first wave, because it's going to show the second wave. Because some of you might be out there like, well, I'm just not sure yet. I want people to go out and experiment. Then I will determine based on how many people I know get sick or not, then I can go out. And then it'll be a third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, and maybe we get back to normal. Some people say they're not going to get back to normal until there's a vaccine or a cure. We're like, look, if we don't go out and spend money, these places will close. State 48 may close. Helton Brewing may close. You just never know. And then you have employees who you become acquainted with over the years and going to these particular places who might be out of jobs, who have rent to pay, car payments. They go out and spend money as well. That's why we decided to do that. So Monday, before we even went to State 48, on our way into work, we did a double header.
Yes.
We stopped at Helton Brewing because that's one of our favorite places. It's on the way to work. It's super convenient. Plus, we love us some Brian Helton. He was on the show with us a couple of weeks ago. And that was a cool experience because that was the first experience. He opened the doors at 11. Mike got there at 11:30. I was late because I forgot how long it takes to get ready to actually drive to work. Couldn't find my stuff. I was like, where is all my stuff? So, but it was cool because there were actually people in there. And we were all sort of like awkward and distant and no high fives and no handshakes and no hugs. But it felt so good to get a beer and a sandwich.
Nope. Brian had no chance. He had no chance. He didn't even have a chance to say social distancing. Not at all. I went up. I gave the guy a big old hug. I came right in with it. I told everybody I was going to. Everybody was warned, both on our show, Russell and Hunter, and on this very show, Brewmance on the radio, and on our podcast. When your door's open, if I see you and you're one of my people, I'm coming at. I will chase you around the building. I'm giving you a hug. And I gave him a hug. Didn't care after that. The rest of his whole restaurant, and from that point on, we social distance. Everything was, the tables were set aside. Everything was done right. But I went at it. And by the way, if you want to come at me, health department, come at me. Come at me right here. Come to the iHeart building. I'm ready to go. You can lock me up. You can lock me up. Could you imagine? What are you in for? Hugs?
You don't want to be in jail for hugs, bro.
No, you
definitely don't want to be in jail for hugs. I'm gonna say, don't admit that you were hugging people because it might invite some other type of contact and poking. You know what I'm saying? But overall, it was a good experience. That's the point. Hugs or not, it doesn't matter. Who cares about the hug? The point is,
I do.
I had a beer that was poured in my glass, fresh draft that I sat down and drank right away. I didn't put it in a growler and bring it home. It was a normal experience. Mike and I commiserated as friends, hanging out, eating a Cuban sandwich. Mike had nachos. It was phenomenal just to be able to do that. It was so American. It was like, this is what I miss so much.
Absolutely. And the great part about this is that I could have had Rob sit at the next, 6 foot away group of chairs, but no, we're sitting right there, because that was our choice. We didn't. So we share a studio together. We're not going to social distance because, trust me, if one of us has it, the other one got it.
Exactly.
So it was, but every single aspect of that was our choice, and that's what made it cool because there was no more. You didn't feel controlled. You felt like that's my choice. I made it, and that's why I'm there, and I loved it.
Yeah, and then on Wednesday night, our friends at Enchiladas opened up their first doors for dine-in service. So we obviously had to go there. So those not familiar, prior to the closure, Mike and I, as the Brewmance, were doing a trivia night at Enchiladas. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. We were getting some good momentum. We had such a great group of people in there that just got at least pressed pause. We have no idea when that's coming back. We know that it will come back. We just don't know when. So it was nice to kind of get a sense of a sit-down restaurant. So we hit the breweries. And Mike also went to Saddle Mountain this week.
You're darn right I did.
And, this was a little bit – it's a little awkward because, again, there's a glass shield or a plexiglass shield in front of the host stand, which you're like, fine, whatever. And we sat outside. The server comes up wearing a mask.
You're talking about enchiladas.
Yes, enchiladas, which is great. Look, you do what you got to do. And it's a little awkward, but those tacos tasted so damn good.
It's like going home.
Oh,
it really was. It was just. I mean, we're such a huge fan of the enchilada tacos, and just having a plate of those suckers right in front of us. Now we've done the takeout thing, supported them as best we could, on their Sunday takeout thing while they did it, while they were locked down and shut down, and it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as somebody bringing a plate to you. Saddle Mountain, same thing. I took out their nachos to go. Was not the same thing as having that plate right in front of me, sitting there enjoying. We're outside in the patios, 80 degrees out there. It was awesome out there at Saddle Mountain, too.
Going out to eat has become sort of the place where you go to have friendship and conversation. And my wife and I kind of argue about this. It's like, why don't we have people over the house? I don't know. There's something different about going out, sitting down, you order food to bring it to the table, you have a couple drinks, they clean it up for you. There's something amazing about that. And have it snatched away from you because of government decree is not a good thing.
Correct.
Not a good thing. So now at least we get to make the choices that we want to make. It's something called freedom. It's something we love here at the Brewmance. It's something we will always argue in favor of, including the freedom to drink this State 48 Freedom beer. Sound of Freedom. We'll review it a little bit later on the show for you in a moment. Are all craft beers going towards canning versus bottling? We're talking about it on the Brewmance on the radio here on 550 KFYI.
Well, they shut everything else down. Why not just can all the craft breweries? Yeah, it's a dad joke. He's Rob Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. This is Brewmance on the radio each and every week. I'll get to my dad joke in a minute. Each and every week, we sit down with a beer of the week, and we are back in studio together, so we have the same beer. For beer of the week, State 48, Sound of Freedom Mosaic Hop IPA. It's a perfect little beer for America, to celebrate America, because that's still the nation we live in, the freedom-loving America.
Which is why we're back open, because we love freedom, and we're willing to take the risk. But I think they named this in their original brewery in Surprise, because I think they have 5 locations now. I think they're working on the 6th. I think the 6th one's actually going to be not too far from my house. I'm very excited about this. I've seen the signs up at Norterra. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, yes, I need
fantastic.
to come hang out here. But I believe it was named the original Surprise location because they would often get, like you do, Mike, living out in the West Valley, the F-35s from Luke Air Force Base flying overhead. So, like, that's the sound of freedom right there. Let's name a beer after it.
Yes.
Salute you, State 48, do it.
That's right. And that's it. That's why by the way, I learned that from Camping Chad, my neighbor. Camping Chad said that when they did flyovers, and he goes, the sweet sound of freedom. So
yeah.
I'm in there as well. So I did say that the craft brewing industry is going to be canned. I meant beer cans, the future of the industry. And this is something that really, really excites me, because I think I've gone through the whole conversion. If it's not if it's not in a pint glass or a can, it's off to me. Like, bottled beer for some reason is not firing me up anymore. Like, we always used to say, can't have it in the can. It's got to be in the bottle. It's got to be in the bottle. I want it in the bottle. I want it in the bottle. No, I'm good with a can, because A, stackable, fits better in a cooler, and it's not breakable, and I love it. It's recyclable, and because, I don't recycle bottles, recycle cans. So recyclable, and no light gets in that sucker. I learned the biology of it.
Well, I think it's cheaper.
Not biology. Is it biology of it? What the chemistry of it?
Yeah, science.
Science, thank you.
All arts and poets, science. Yeah. Very simple.
The ology of it.
Man, it's science. It's art form. That's all. Shoot. But that's it. Over the course of the time we're doing the Brewmance, last 4 years or so, all the craft brewers are telling us canning is better for the beer. Number one, it's cheaper, more affordable. And it's better for the beer because the light doesn't get in and interact with the beer. Because the light, when it does it, it adds another scientific process to it. See what I did there, Mike Russell?
Yes, there you go.
I don't know if it's photosynthesis or something like that, but it interacts with the beer and it lessens the flavor. It reduces the flavor and reduces the content in the beer. So the canning is better. It's easier to pack. I mean, look at this can I'm holding up for our YouTube video right there. It's way better than that bottle with that long neck on it or whatever. So I'm digging it. And I'm digging the fact that on one of our podcasts, the Brewmance podcast, available for you for free on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere else podcasts are available, we talked to a group called Mobile West Canning. Now, this is a company that based here in Phoenix. They also do work in San Diego and Tijuana and even Vegas. But they can beer for craft brewers. So you even have an option if you are a brewer. If you don't want to worry about canning, they'll come in and can it for you. Like, it's phenomenal. It's such a great idea. And it just preserves the beer. It makes it so damn sexy.
But here's the gig, though. I'm going to say, in my outdoor ways, I want it better. It just fits better in a cooler. I don't care about the science behind it. I don't even care about and I'm not kidding. I don't even care about the science of making beer. It's neat to talk to Brian and talk to Matt over at Oso and talk to Jacob at Saddle Mountain and talk to the people that brew beer and discover new ways to make beer. And it's a lot of fun, but it doesn't interest me. I kind of glass over a little bit and go, can I just taste it? I don't care the type of hops you put in it, how you treated the water before you do it. I understand what a genius you are. I get it. And I appreciate that. High five. Like, I don't want to know about Michael Jordan's life. That's why I'm not watching the stupid documentary series about him. I don't want to know about his life. I just want, if I met him, I would say, can you teach me to do some of the stuff that you do? I don't care the other stuff.
What if he teaches you in the documentary?
No, it's not what's happening.
Am I?
It's all a bunch of nonsense in the documentary.
How do you know? You haven't watched it.
Because that's all people are talking about. Like, it's the most watched documentary of, I don't know, the past how many years.
Who's the contrarian now? Usually that's my role here on the Brewmance.
No, I just don't like Michael Jordan. I just don't like Michael Jordan. Okay. It has nothing to do with, like, the team I'm affiliated with. But he's the greatest basketball player of all time. He literally is the greatest basketball player of all time. So that's why I at least respect him.
Sure.
But I don't give a rat's about his life. Show me what you did on the court, dude.
I get your anecdote, and I buy the analogy, right? It's like, okay, great. How the sausage gets, I don't care. I just want to taste the sausage.
Give me the damn thing.
Yeah, just let me. Great.
Yeah.
There's certain things I want to learn about. This ain't one of them. I just want to know how your beer tastes.
Sure.
And if you want to go back and recreate the formula, the recipe, you go do your thing. I'm just going to keep drinking the beers.
You put a seed in the ground, you cover it up, you water it, and then the thing pops up. Food pops up is essentially what those flowers pop up. I don't want to worry about how the soil and the water start to germinate the seed and this. Nope. I don't need to know any of that. Just give me the stuff in the cans. That's what I want to know, is that it stacks better in a cooler. That's all I need to know.
Well, and look, it's probably an easier way for you, me, and everybody else to taste craft beer. So if a bottle, this is what I care about. I care about the economics of it, right? I just care about how do you get something that you make into more people's hands. And if that's for Mike putting it in the cooler and bringing it to the campsite because maybe he's camping with other people, or maybe he sees other people around and say, hey, I have this beer, like our beer of the week from State 48, The Sound of Freedom. I would love you to try it.
Yeah.
Because one of the great things about craft beer drinkers, we kind of love to share. And it is easier to just hold up a can and bam, pass the can around. Here you go. There's a can of beer.
Trade a can.
Yeah, exactly right. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a can of beer I like. You give me a can of beer you like. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if this makes, and going into what Mike's point was, the creation of this, and it's more accessible to the masses, oh, I love it. I love it so much just from the ease standpoint.
And I love it that they come in the tall boys. They come in different sizes. The bottle's one damn size, except for the Bombers. I'm like, okay, the Bombers, that's almost a shareable beer.
Yeah.
And so
it's two beer in a can.
Sure.
2 beer in a bottle.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I'd rather just have 2 cans. Just give me 2 cans. It's easier to divide up that way. I am a can fan. And the fact that the entire industry is going to canning, I love it. Keep that thing going. Keep that trajectory going. Let's get rid of bottles. It's like the wine industry. They want to get rid of corks. Corks is a snobby thing. Corks let air in. Corks are not a good thing. They're archaic. It's time to move on. People snob out at wine bottles that you open with the screw top. That is the best way to preserve wine in a wine bottle.
And you don't get any cork falling in when you try to open it. The cork sucks, and you're like, ah.
Have you ever done it where it shoots down and then the wine shoots straight up?
I haven't seen the wine shoot straight up. No.
Yeah, my buddy has it's perm to this day on the roof of on the ceiling of his kitchen. There's red wine on a white ceiling.
Wow,
fabulous!
That's fantastic.
Just kind of keep it as a.
I've done some surgery on some corks, try to get them out. If you break off or whatever, and you're like, all right, I got to get in here and I got to figure this out. Yeah, I've done that many a times.
That's why I love a tequila bottle. You just talk to it right off the top. It's all good.
There's something great about it. That's actually a great sound. I noticed that because I was drinking more liquor. Yeah. Tequila in particular, and vodka in particular during COVID-19. Because I'm like, man, I can't drink all of this beer because I will weigh 400 pounds when I come out of quarantine.
Right.
So I balanced it out. And there was something great about that sound when you pop off and you're like, oh, it's like, again, it's like the sound of freedom. Like our State 48 beer.
It's the sound of I'm about to get my buzz on.
Heck yeah. Or even if you just like a sippy sip. Like, look, how I did it during COVID-19, I didn't drink as much as I thought I would, quite honestly. I basically said, okay, after work, I'm going to have a drink. And then some nights I'd have 2, but most nights I just have 1 because I'm satisfied with pouring a little tequila, a couple of rocks in there, not actual rocks, obviously, and I'd sip on it. And because I sip slower liquor than I do beer, it's more satisfying in a way. And then I'm like, all right, so my transition from work traditionally is you drive home. You have a little bit of space in between work and home.
Yes.
Since we're working from home, there was no space. So I had to create the space. And the sort of the little bit of tequila, sometimes a beer, sometimes whiskey, served as my drive home, if you will.
Yes, and I think it was fabulous that you did that. But I think that we'll probably get into this at a different date and time. But now that I am into the different types of harder alcohol and liquor, that I don't like ice in it. I'm like, people have those big like balls of ice. I'm like, whoa, why you're watering it down? This is so nummy. I just keep the dang bottle in the fridge. It's all good. I'm like, I like it better, not watered down. I want to taste how it should taste.
I mean, that's neat. I mean, you're just serving it neat.
That's like putting ice cubes in a beer. Would you put ice cubes in a beer?
We have a beer's cold.
Well, you can make your liquor cold.
I don't know. There's got to be a reason why liquor is not stored in the fridge, and I'm not sure what it is. It's probably science.
Oh, screw that noise.
Something we'll get into later down the line on the Brewmance on the radio. In a moment, though, we want to tell you that craft beers are still dumping beer, and this is impacting the chain of supply. It's not just beer that's being impacted. We'll tell you about it on the Brewmance on the radio here on 550 KFYI. Here in the state of Arizona, bars still not allowed to be open legally. We have no clue as to when they will. So how is that impacting the beer world? We'll tell you about it on the Brewmance on the radio. Thank you for being with us here on 550 KFYI. My name is Rob Hunter. My partner in crime is Mike Russell. You might also know us as Russell and Hunter. 4 to 7 in your afternoons right here on 550 KFYI, Monday through Friday. On the Brewmance on the radio, look, here's the deal. It's a little bit different because we know that we have our opinions. You probably know we have our opinions, but we don't think our opinions are the only ones that matter. We know that true. The media essentially is trying to divide us, right? Divide and conquer because they get some likes, views, etc. We here think, look, let's crack open a beer, have these conversations, and still walk away as friends and not get all, I'm trying to think of an appropriate way to say this.
Ticked off at each other.
Thank you very much. Yes. What are we drinking today, Mike?
Got it.
Beer of the week.
State 48, Sound of Freedom, Mosaic Hopped IPA. And by the way, I did mention earlier that I don't care the hops and the chemicals and the time when you did whatever and barrel age and whatnot. Just give me some good beer. It is cool if you put it in the name. Put it in the name, cool. Then I know that I can say, that was the Mosaic hopped one from State 48.
One of the more popular ones, I believe.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, and so this was one of State 48's most popular beers. By the way, this was one of our first stops when Arizona was reopened-ish. And once again, we're not getting into politics, but once it was reopened-ish, it sounds like you got a problem over there, champ.
I do.
Okay, we're working on that at the break.
I only came here to do two things, Mike Russell. Do a radio show, drink some beer. Looks like I'm almost out of beer. That's a Dazed and Confused quote.
Yes, it is.
The third part of that is
anyway,
kick some butt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to put that right there for you.
Yes, moving on. Yes, go do your thing.
But here, I want to make a point about hops. So if you're new to beer and you're new to the craft beer world, and you're like, what is a hop? A hop is essentially a main ingredient of beer. It's one of the 4 main ingredients. You have water, you have barley, you have hops, and I can't remember the other one. So there you go. Yeast is the obviously main.
There you go.
So hops is like the spice of the beer, right? So IPAs typically use different types of spices, if you will. Hops. It's a plant. You throw it in there, and it gives it different flavor profiles. So a Mosaic hopped IPA, that's the predominant spice, essentially, that they put into the beer.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
That is brilliant.
Yes.
Because when I said I don't care about the science, it's just because I'm too dumb. If you dumb it down for me like that, Rob Hunter, I absolutely love that. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Right, and the spices interact with the other ingredients, the water and the barley and the yeast, to create this amazing thing, this liquid gold that we drink. And then you different the credit. So if you have Mosaic and there's like a Liberty hop and there's all kinds of Galaxy hops, there's all kinds of different varieties of hops that give you different flavors. Some are more citrusy, some are more bitter. And then you can kind of create your own sort of flavor that way.
It's brilliant.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Hops, the spice of beer. You heard it here on the Brewmance on the radio.
Hops is the spice of beer, variety is the spice of life. I get it. Okay, fantastic.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Now, speaking of that, that is one of the things that's being impacted by the COVID-19 shutdown. So, for example, if State 48 needs a bunch of Mosaic hops to can this beer. So they have 5 different spots that you can go to. They make this beer at all 5. So they make enough of it to be able to put it in all 5. So that requires a lot. And now they're starting to can it. So now they have even more. There's a demand for it. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens if the Mosaic hop farmers run out of Mosaic hops because the demand is whatever? Or they're growing too much and they have to throw some away because not enough people are buying them because the demand is down because you can only get it while the places are actually open. So that's what I mean. That's one example of how supply chains work. And then if you add in the malts, the barleys, the grains that make the other part of the beer, one of the other 4 elements, that creates reverberations as well. And then you have delivery drivers who pack up the hops in the truck and they drive it on the State 48 brew and be like, hey, we got your hops. Or they go to the hop store, if you will, the beer ingredient store, whatever, and they buy, like dog food sized bags of hops. 50-pound bags of hops or
right,
whatever.
pellets, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're impacted by that too. So whatever the intermediary is that sells the hops to a State 48 or any other great breweries here in the Valley, all 74, 75 of them, it's that same impact that no one thinks about when it comes to shutting down the economy. So all the people out there who have jobs and are like, we need to keep the economy shut. We're seeing beef shortages, Mike. I went to Wendy's the other day. They only had certain burgers available because they don't have enough beef.
This is not okay.
It's not.
You do things you don't mess with. You know, it was my beer and my ribeyes. Those are the two things you do not mess with ever, ever, ever in Mike Russell's world. And by the way, you can keep going. It's wild to try this. And I really want you to think through this. And the first time I did this was when somebody, we were in San Diego, and there was a yacht. I mean, mad yacht out in front. And somebody said that doesn't really agree with me politically or ideologically, but we're still friends. Why?
Ooh.
Because of beer.
Yes.
Said, why would anyone ever want that? I can't believe somebody would have that kind of money spend on that. And I started the list, and it got through about 4 until he said, okay, I get it. I get your point. I get what you're saying.
Shut up already.
Because the boat manufacturer didn't make that paint. Somebody made that paint. Companies made that paint. People made that paint. There's employees at that paint company. You see even the steering wheel of this giant ship, the electronics in this. I mean, there are so many families and people that are touched by this one purchase, and people that have jobs and careers and benefits and school and food and everything, and shoes for their sports teams and all of that, just because of this purchase right here.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's actually fun to do when you talk about the hops, because there's the bags. People make the bags. Those the bags. There's a company that makes the bags.
Absolutely.
There's the company that makes the ink for those bags.
And all they have
printing
employees
on those bags.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And all the way down, you talked about those trucks that we're delivering. There's mechanics, there's people, there's service shops that rely on
sell
those
the trucks.
Absolutely. And those go on and on and on and on. Tire stores, you can keep going and going just by saying we have a hop shortage and exactly what that means. So shutting something down and knocking out one part of the industry takes other industries and just gut punches them all the way down the line.
And I'll extend this too. So, for example, here in Arizona, some bars are open and they're like, whatever, screw you, Ducey, we're opening. Others are not because they want to follow the law. So I understand both sides of the coin here. But what happens is, let's say I go to a bar. My favorite bar has State 48's Sound of Freedom IPA. But that bar's closed. So now State 48 is selling less to the bar because there's the wholesale aspect of brewing beer as well. That is interrupted. And then that goes back down the line of what we were just talking about with the grains and the hops and the drivers and the mechanics and the whole kind of thing, because it's interrupted that supply chain. So it's literally like taking a pebble and dropping it in the pool, or whatever it is you might throw in.
Sure.
Mike has a pool. I don't have a pool. Whatever you throw in the
I
pool,
don't throw pebbles into my pool.
No, but you throw something in the pool and it makes a wave, right? So it's like a little wave. And if it's big enough, it goes all the way to the end of the pool. So I can take up the whole end of the pool because those reverberations can go forever. So we don't even know how far yet that last reverberation will go. So we're trying to get this economy back open and figure it out. And we've been shamed for taking this position.
Yes.
Which has boggled my mind because we think of it, number one, logically, I'm not likely to get COVID-19. Even if I do, logically, we're both likely to survive. So for us, it's logically worth the risk because it's not that big of a risk. It's like driving a car. It's a risk, but not that big of a risk. So we know the other side of that coin. The longer we stop spending money, 70% of our economy is based on our spending, consumer spending. The longer we wait, the further out that pebble reverberation goes. We're trying to stop it after a couple. Like, all right, we're in.
Yeah.
We're going to spend some money.
Okay.
We got this. We're going to buy tacos. We're buying beer.
I'm going to hold on to that last ripple. It's
Yes.
not going anywhere from here.
And that's the challenge, right? It's how do you stop it when you stop it at the appropriate time? And that requires a lot of us to be able to go out because we're only going to be able to stop some of the reverberations. More people are needed to stop the bigger reverberations. And that requires us to show the way and be like, look, we'll be the ones that are taking the risk. We will show you that we've done it. We've done it safely. And we're washing our hands and doing whatever it is that we feel appropriate to be able to help these small businesses stay in. So if it's a restaurant, for example, if it's a taco, who's making the shells? Who's got the ingredients for the shells? That's what the restaurant has to buy if they're making their own shells. The meat, where are they getting that from? There's a supplier on that. All of them have suppliers, and there's probably, 5 5 to 10 different supply chains coming into a restaurant to provide all the stuff.
Right, but I also want you to understand this. The reason the government was kicking in for the unemployment benefits, $600 extra,
Ooh.
it was the reason why is they wanted you to go buy the 4-pack of crap. They wanted you to go buy and support your local, buy a taco at the local taco shop. They wanted you to go get a pizza. They wanted you to have that extra stuff because they know the only way this economy gets back up and running is if you take some of that dough and put that into the system. So that's why that dough is there for you.
And it benefits all of us down the line at some point because we get to keep our jobs or we get to keep our full salaries. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying spend everything you have, but the only way it works is if you actually spend a certain percentage of your income.
True.
In a moment, we'll wrap up the Brewmance on the Radio. We'll review this beautiful beer from State 48 in just a moment. Right here on 550 KFY.
If someone busts into your house stealing your snacks and your beer, just grin and bear it. My second dad joke of the day. It is Brewmance on the Radio. He's Rob Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. We are the Brewmance, and we get together each and every week because we know that there's just a bunch of nonsense going on in the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I tried to nail the line, Rob, and I totally messed it up. But he's right there. The cool part about it, we're in studio.
Yeah.
Back in studio. So he's right over there on the other side of the computer.
What's up, y'all?
And we get together and have a beer and talk about the great parts of the craft beer culture in Arizona's only craft beer radio show. This week, we are gathered around our second State 48 Sound of Freedom Mosaic Hop IPA. Went down a little too easy. We had to crack open a second one. Each will review that for you in just a moment. Now, I did say if people are breaking into your place, just grin and bear it if they're stealing your beer, because bears actually did this. 4 bears break into a cabin, and they just said in front. By the way,
I didn't know it was 4.
The Umans were there. The people were there. The people in the cabin, they were there. They busted in the cabin and they started stealing snacks and beer. Just don't mind the peeps. We're gonna say the snacks and the beer only. See, you have to. What did they take? They had.
These are beers after my own heart.
They
took everything I would take.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Check it off the list. My favorite.
M&Ms.
Love M&Ms.
Sour Patch Kids.
Love Sour Patch Kids.
Grab themselves a couple of beers and just headed on out. Hey,
I
thanks, guys.
Hang out
cool.
With these bears.
Exactly.
You know, you used to make fun of me because I had a commercial here for one of the cruise lines, and I said, "I want to see the bears," and you were like, "Who wants to see bears?" I'm like, "I do from a distance."
Yes.
Like looking at it with binos on, like, "Hey, look, there's a bear."
Especially if they're sitting there eating Sour Patch Kids and like, "What up, Rob?"
Yay. Hey.
Hey, Rob, look what we got. We got a Sound of Freedom Mosaic IPA. We got it out of your fridge. Hope you don't mind, buddy. Hope you don't mind. But we took the Sour Patch Kids in the,
Wouldn't mind. I would share it with a bear because,
yes.
Number one, if I don't, the bear will eat me. So
True.
I'd rather you eat my Sour Patch Kids and drink my beer than eat me. So I'm in.
Very true. Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yep.
So,
cool.
but yes. But I was thinking it's funny. Our very first show, the very first Brewmance on the Radio that we actually had a story about a bear that was that busted into a joint and went through a case of craft beer. And then got to like Keystone or something like that and didn't finish the beer. It's like, nope, not going to have it.
Gave me a taste of the good stuff. I can't go backwards now. Can't do it.
Bears have absolutely nothing but good taste, apparently, because they like the craft beer and they like the M&Ms and the Sour Patch Kids.
Now, speaking of some bad news, though, to go along with this, as many craft brewers are still dumping beer because of these closures.
This is not okay.
Donate it.
This is not okay.
Donate it to the Brewmance. Even if we have to take a road trip to Flagstaff, for example.
Yeah.
Even Albuquerque. I would drive to Albuquerque to get free beer.
I heard Rob say this on a previous episode, and he said, man, I just wish I had a kegerator for all of this. I was like, dude, get one on the way or get one on the way back. It's okay. They sell them at several places.
Exactly.
It's a worthwhile investment. We are saving beer lives.
Exactly. That's all we want to do.
Yeah.
But look, it's been tough, and that's been it, right? And that's part of I was having a conversation earlier this week about the mental health aspect. So a friend of ours has a 5.5-year-old. So he just started going to school, and he loves going to school. He's his only child. So he gets to go and be away from his parents, and he gets to establish himself and be his own human being. And he was describing to his mom hanging up the book bag, like putting it on the hook. You remember when you first walked into school? I don't remember this feeling, but I can picture it.
Yeah.
Hanging it up there. You get to be around all these other people that aren't mom, aren't dad, and you get to play, and you get to learn, and you get to have a good time. So he's now, 2 months into this. They live in Florida, and he's going crazy because he's stuck at home. And he's like, he's been okay. He's been okay. It's been okay. But he said, his mom said this past week really hit him hard. And I was like, man, I'm feeling for this guy because that's the kind of part we all relate to. 5-year-olds do it a little bit differently than we do.
Yes.
And that's why it's been so beneficial that at least here in the state of Arizona, we've opened up enough where if you want, you can get a taste of it. Now, many of you may know, and if you don't, I did something a little crazy over this COVID-19 thing.
What'd you do?
I was going to the gym.
Oh, but you're not a cool kid anymore because they opened them up, man. You used to be a cool kid. You used to be a rebel. Not anymore.
Now I'm just that. But it's funny. I'm curious to see how this, because I'm going to keep going to this place. I'm curious to see how normal it gets, how quickly it gets normal. Because more people are like, all right, it's open, it's legit. Now I can do it. Because when push comes to shove, and this is the test of the sort of the mental fortitude. So I'm a guy, my main belief is freedom. The soul's right to be free. Every single person, I believe that all men are created equal, women too. But men back then referred to everybody.
Yes.
So Mike, because I believed that so much, I believed in this small business owner who was 2 weeks away from losing his business. I'll tell you the name of the gym now because it's open. It's called Power in Motion. And I was like, I didn't want him to stand alone. So I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I don't care. And I went to the gym and it was normal. One day the cops rolled by, I was in there, so we had to alter our workout. But it felt so good to stand up for freedom because you and I didn't grow up in the civil rights era. We didn't grow up in the early foundation of this country era when there was slavery. So there was no necessary reason to stand up for freedom. And this was a chance for us to do so. And I know that you did as well because you were going out and you were supporting small businesses, and it was such a cool thing to be able to say, I took a stand and I took the shaming that came along with it, as mentally tough as that was. So we've all, going back to the 5-year-old example, have had a mental challenge in some way, shape, or form of this. And to be able to persevere through that is awesome.
I agree with that. And can we just give Rob some serious credit? And I'm just going to get goofy because Rob got all powerful there. So I'm just going to get goofy because that's who I am. Can we give Rob some credit? It's a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
And Rob is the first person that has started to do CrossFit like within weeks. And I don't hear him talking about CrossFit. I am just so proud of Rob Hunter. I cannot tell you how proud I am. Because the minute you said that was it and you're going to start and you're going to keep going, I'm like, oh, here we go. That's all I'm going to hear about is CrossFit. And I'm going to shift in my chair and I'm going to feel my dad bod jiggle a little bit and go, man, he's just shaming me right now because he beat up a tire today and he smacked some ropes around.
Yeah.
And he threw some things. And he's going to talk about it, and he hasn't, and he's done a great job about that. That's exactly what we do here at the Brewmance. We love craft beer.
Yep.
We know there are people that don't love craft beer. We know there's people that hate beer. People want to, can I sit down and have a Jameson with you?
Yep.
Of course you can.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just have an iced tea with you? Absolutely,
Everybody's
you can.
welcome.
Whatever you want to have a sip, just sit down and have a drink with us. It doesn't have to be an adult drink. Have a drink with us. Have a good conversation. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's what we preach, and that's what we love because we know that our choices might be different from yours. And I think as a human being, I'm trying to evolve to the point where I don't judge other people's decisions. So I don't judge if you drink a Michelob Ultra. Yeah, I'm talking to your sister. I'm never going to judge. Look, she's drinking a beer with me.
Want to come with my sister, man?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, she drinks Michelob Ultra. Okay, you can go.
But that's the point. The point is, I just want to sit down and have a conversation with her. I'm like, oh, let's sit down and have a conversation. I don't care what it is. Conversation is the key to breaking through barriers. It's the only way we're going to get it done.
It's true. And that's what we do.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So let's converse about this
Please.
beer. State 48, the sound of freedom. It is an IPA. It's got mosaic hops in it. It's made right here in the Valley. And Mike, I'll let you start.
Here's the deal. It says the sound of freedom. I usually say, if I use the expression, the sweet sound of freedom, this mosaic hop gives it a real sweetness. It has that sweet to it, but it does have that bite. It does have that balance. I think it is a very well-balanced beer. There's really nothing wrong with this. I'm so glad that we were sitting at the bar. We're the only two people at State 48.
That felt good, too, buddy.
That was crazy.
We're supporting a local business.
And we looked across it. We looked at the center of the bar, and we're like, okay, I see cans. Are you guys canning? Yes. Okay. Well, we're going to take a couple 6-packs with us. Let's make that happen. So glad that happened. So glad it's here for our beer of the week. Sound of Freedom, easy 8.5. This is a really good beer.
It is a really good beer. It is beefy yet sweet, easy to drink. It's 7% ABV, 70 IBUs if you're keeping track. It's got really cool can art. It looks like America on it. So I'm going to match your 8.5, Mike, just to make the math easy. 8.5. This is a beer, if you're an IPA drinker, you will definitely like. So if you're at State 48, and again, they have 5 locations, soon to be 6 across the valley. You're talking Scottsdale, Glendale, Surprise, downtown. I don't know where the other one is. I think maybe the airport. I don't know. Maybe Tempe. It doesn't matter. You're going to like this beer if you like IPAs.
That's right. And we'll use it to celebrate 4th of July early because we don't know if 4th of July is going to be canceled. So I'm going to have a couple of these by my pool this weekend. So that's my weekend beer.
Are they going to do fireworks shows or are they going to wimp out?
I don't know. Maybe the fireworks will have to wear masks.
Never know. Masks. We talked about that this week on Russell and Hunter. Check out those podcasts. But if you want to check out the Brewmance podcast, now this is the podcast where Mike and I just commiserate over a beer. So we just talk about whatever. We just talked to Laura Hansen, Saddle Mountain Brewing. She told us about the challenges of trying to reopen in the time of COVID-19. Very, very interesting conversation. So glad she was able to join us for that. Just go on your iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast, and you can subscribe and listen and rate us and review us. That way other people can find out about coming together over a beer. We would love it. So once again, we are the Brewmance. We are also Russell and Hunter here on 550 KFY. My name is Rob Hunter. He is Mike Russell. We do this, Brewmance on the radio, 6 p.m. every Saturday night. So until next Saturday.
Cheers, everybody.